welcome to Leadership Table Talk, a 3-time Telly Award-winning talk show designed to help you develop and improve your executive leadership skills and talents. I'm your host, Dr. Mary Gillam, a retired Air Force colonel and former member of the Senior Executive Service Corps with the Department of Defense at the Pentagon. I'm also the owner of Premier Strategic Solutions, LLC. In today's episode of Leadership Table Talk, we're going to discuss financial literacy. I want to introduce you to a concept called L.I.F E, which stands for Leadership Initiates Financial Excellence. To discuss this topic with me via Zoom are the creators of this dynamic concept. So please help me to welcome Ms. Pamala McCoy and retired Air Force Chief Master Sergeant Tonia Oldham. Ladies, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
So let's just begin by just telling the audience a little about your backgrounds. Why don't we just start with you, Pamala?
Okay, a little bit about me. I am what they affectionately call a military brat, in that my father served 28 years in the Air Force. Both of my brothers are academy grads, and then I married the love of my life, Maurice McCoy, who served 30 years in the Air Force. And as for me personally, I have a degree in business from North Carolina State University. Most of my corporate tenure has been in accounting, finance, banking, credit card industry. And during that tenure, back in 2008, while still full-time at a bank as vice president, collections, recovery, fraud, and probate, I actually started my first business, Bonafide Credit Consultants, LLC, where we provide financial capability education and personal money management. And fast forward a little bit, amidst the pandemic, I like to refer to this newest division of my company as my assignment from the big guy. So during that time, June of 2020, B5 Reaffirm was birthed. And in that division of my company, we focus solely on the self-esteem of females.
Oh, that is awesome. That is so great. So, Tonia, having met you through some mutual military friends a few years ago, I know quite a bit about your background, but just for our audience, could you just enlighten them, please?
Thank you, Dr. Gillam, and thanks a bunch for inviting us. I was born in Crystal River, Florida, and grew up in Lakeland, Florida. Lakeland is situated between Tampa and Orlando. Growing up, I had aspirations of becoming a singer and a dancer, thus the Air Force. I entered the Air Force, served almost 24 years, reaching the rank of Chief Master Sergeant, the top 1%. And after I retired from the Air Force, I was in the right place at the right time, worked for corporate America almost 9 years, and recently retired after 16 years from the Department of Military Science, Florida Southern College, Army ROTC. My background is organizational leadership and management, and I have a master's degree and have an MBA with a concentration on finance.
Oh, that is awesome. So, ladies, since we are talking about leadership here, well, what is your definition of leadership? Why don't you just go ahead and start, Tonia, your definition of leadership?
Yes, leadership is problem solving for your team members. It's having the integrity and the confidence without arrogance of being there for your team members. Also, you want to be the type of leader where your team members are not afraid to approach you. You want to have the active listening skills so that way you can be available to help your team members or understand their issues, their problems. All too often, you may not be able to solve that problem, and that's when you need to turn or help that team member find the solution through other sources.
Oh, that is so good, Tonia. So, Pamala, could you also address that for us, please?
Well, I have to piggyback on a lot of what Tonia said, and just add that, leadership, in my opinion, it's more than just managing people, right? It's about getting to know people and valuing people and what they're bringing to the table. And I think she mentioned integrity, and for me, that's paramount. And in my terms, I say bona fide, right? That you have to have bona fide integrity. and leading with that. And from that, what I mean is always seeking to do the right thing simply because it's the right thing, right? And leading people in that direction. And I like to say, someone once said, if you think you're a good leader and you turn around and no one else is there, you're just
Yes.
someone on a walk, right?
Yes.
So being a good leader means people are ready, willing, and able to follow, right? So.
Oh, that is wonderful, Pamela. I think that was, if I recall, John Maxwell may have said that.
Yeah.
That was so good. Okay, so ladies, let me ask this. I know as professionals, having led many organizations, what were some of the challenges that you face in your leadership roles, and how did you overcome them to become the successful women that you are today? Why don't we just go ahead and start with you, Pamela?
Well, I'll start from the corporate side. The industry that I spent the most of my time on the corporate side in the banking industry was on the collection side, or what we refer to as the back end of the business. And that is a predominantly male-dominated arena. And so being a female in that arena comes with its own set of challenges. And then if I would add to be an African-American female in that arena adds a whole nother dynamic. And so to say it could be challenging at times might be an understatement, but I think, how I overcame those challenges comes from what really B5 Reaffirm is all about, and that's self-esteem, right? When you have self-confidence and know that you know that you know that you know about your own abilities, about your own worth, then you don't allow other people to try to define that for you, right? You know what you're bringing to the table, and you can stand your ground and stand firm in that. And for me, that bode well and led to me being able to be successful in that arena, even though it was a male-dominated arena. At one point in my career, I was selected and identified as one of the 5 women to watch in the nation in collections. And that doesn't happenstance, so it's in spite of, right? And so my advice to anyone is really, and not just females, but anyone, right? Confidence, know your stuff, be what you're destined to be, right? And everything else will fall into place.
Oh, Pamela, that is awesome. I had no idea about that in your background. That is wonderful. And so, Tonia, can you kind of share with us maybe one or two of your challenges that you may have encountered and how you overcame them to be the person that you are today?
I have to piggyback off several things Pamela stated. Dr. Gillam, I was a part of the 70s, 80s, 90s military, a male-dominated military. Also being an African-American minority female. When everything you said, every action you took, somebody was ready to tear you down. Promotions were very few. Recognition was few and far between. So I had to learn how to be my own person. And when people began to confuse my confidence with arrogance, or when they began to second guess every decision I made, I adopted a 3-steps approach, and watch me. The 3-steps approach is arriving prior to the boss arrival, departing at the end of the day after he departs. When he asks you the question, you have the answer to the question before he can even ask. And when he asks you the time, you build him a watch. And again, it's you take care of your people, they take care of you, you come across as confident, and although people are out to pull the rug out from under you, understand and know the person you are. You had dreams and visions, and you're determined to make them become reality. You took care of the people, they took care of you, and the rest is, look at the career.
Oh, this is awesome, ladies. This information is so good. So, Pamela, let me ask, as an entrepreneur, what inspired you to start B5 Reaffirm?
Well, that division, as I said, is kind of, I refer to it often as my assignment from the big guy. And it's really heart work, if you will. If you look at some of the data, some of the statistics around females and self-esteem and suicide and all of those negative things. I'm not sure if you're aware, but when you talk about self-esteem, self-esteem is actually not considered a mental health disorder. It's considered a thinking disorder. However, if it goes unaddressed, it quickly escalates into anxiety and depression, which are in fact identified as mental health disorders. And so the goal of B5 Reaffirmed is to step in, if you will, to prevent it from that escalation. The need is great. And as I say in the Bible, the laborers are few. And it's because it's not addressed, people don't know how to call a thing, if you will. But I'm grateful that societally we are now giving a voice to mental health. We're not there. We've got a long way to go with regards to removing the stigmas and the walls associated with mental health. But each conversation that is had publicly is an effort towards tearing down that wall. And so really it is a heart work. There is such a need. And women, we are these nurturers, our roles. We wear so many hats, right? Not just professionally, corporately, all of that, but we're moms, we're grandmas, we are so many things to so many people. But if we're not okay, then nothing is okay. And so it's very important that we as females, have a place and realize that it really is okay to say that I'm not okay, and that there's resources available to assist and help them get okay, right? And so really the YB5, it's hard work. There's such a need, and it is my goal. With that assignment came a number. That number is 1 million females. It is my number that I have been tasked with from the big guy to introduce them to the B5 program and that mantra. And that mantra is that I am, if I ask, what is a B5? I'm a bona fide boss with brains, beauty, and a believer in me. And if I get 1 million women to not just be able to recite that, but know that they know that they know that they are, in fact, truly are a B5, what a world we will have with that kind of self-confidence. Because when you show up in the world different, everything else has to change.
Pamela, that is awesome. That is so awesome. So let me ask you, how does Bonafide and B5 Reaffirm contribute to your life vision? Could you talk a little bit about that?
Dr. Gillam, they're not mutually exclusive, and that's why I actually refer to it as another division as opposed to a separate company. It is mind and money, because if you're not in a good headspace, you make bad decisions or questionable decisions across the board, but to include financial decisions. And so when Tonia and I are talking about life, that leadership initiates financial excellence, life is a relative term, right? And though we talk about it in this context financially, it is life in its entirety, right? And it encompasses everything holistically about the person, which includes their mental health, their mind, their body, their soul. And so that is what Tonia and I, we come together and join forces. We're looking at the whole person, right? And addressing that.
Oh, that is so good, Pamela. So, Tonia, as a retired Chief Master Sergeant from the Air Force, let me ask you, what were some of those leaders, or who were some of those leaders that you actually engaged with that helped to shape the person that you are today?
I am so happy you asked me that question. During one of Colonel Black's interviews, he stated that everyone has a Tuskegee Airman moment. Yes, I do. I actually met an original Tuskegee Airman on the flight line at Castle Air Force Base, California. That encounter resulted in my retraining from a 431 aircraft maintenance to 702. That original Tuskegee Airman, Lieutenant Colonel James Warren, was the chief of social actions. So he ended up becoming a sponsor and a mentor. I emulated so many of his leadership styles. And I mean, that young man, he was just amazing. He walked the walk, he talked the talk, and he helped prepare you to one day exceed or lead others. Two others is Major General William E. Jones and Chief Master Sergeant George Arthur Dudley. They were mentors. They were responsible. There was responsible folks. They were sponsors. Not only that, Dr. Gillam, they encouraged me to continue serving in the military. They allowed me to learn and to think outside the box. Back in the day, we called it paradigms. They allowed me to create, implement paradigms, and help me as a leader. Even in my civilian life, I think about Major General William E. Jones, Lieutenant Colonel James Warren, and Chief Master Sergeant George Arthur Dudley. I must mention that George Arthur Dudley, retired chief, was an executive at the Department of Energy. Not only that, George was my coach. He showed me what to do, how to do it, when to do it. He often convinced me that one day I would replace him and that he had faith and confidence in me. And to this day, George still mentors in various capacities. So those three individuals had such a huge impact as leaders. And through the years, even in my civilian life, I emulated their leadership traits and their leadership style.
Oh, oh my goodness, Tanya, that was just awesome. And the fact that I do know Chief Master Sergeant retired George Dudley, I'm just like, oh, this is just truly awesome. And I also know one of Pamela's brothers, and he and I both served at the Pentagon together, and that is a Colonel retired Vic Lofton. So, boy, this is a small world, a real small world here. So, let's now transition and talk about financial literacy. Pamela, can you describe that, define that for us, and could you also talk about some of the myths that are associated with that?
Well, for one, I personally refer to it as financial capability education as opposed to financial literacy. And the reason being that I feel that everyone has some level of knowledge as it relates to finances, right? Because we transact. So even at a kid's level, they know to go in the store and I want this. They ask for that. They may not understand even the dynamics of money, but they know I want this, right? And so at Bonafide, what we do is meet you where you're at and build from there. So that's why I refer to it as financial capability education. But I think that everyone needs it. And I'm really grateful, particularly, here in the state of Florida, where they're starting to require it to be part of graduation. Like, you cannot graduate from high school until you've had what they're referring to as financial literacy, but because our students are graduating and they don't have that, right? And it puts them at such a disadvantage as they begin adulting, right? And not to all the other disparities, but everything is at a slant. And so our children are at a further disadvantage because generationally, they're already, in too many cases, further behind some of their counterparts as relates to economic education. And so it's very important. It is just like mental health. It is fundamental in you starting out and being successful, not only in careers, but in life, right? If you are not grounded in self, i.e. your self-esteem, if you are not educated with regards to personal money management, then you're destined to not be successful in life or professionally. So, there's a lot of work yet to be done.
Oh, wow. That is so interesting, Tonia. Not Tonia, but Pamela, please forgive me. But let me ask you, could you ladies now talk a little bit more about the life concept itself? Can you explain to our audience what that is really about?
The life concept is really about more, not more, but more. You want more fun, you want more wellness, you want more health, you want more benefits, you want more month at the end versus the money dissipating, disappearing. You want to have more month than money. That's what I'm trying to say. You can get more with McCoy and Oldham. We want to show you through our leadership and financial excellence how you can really live and embrace life. Because when you have financial difficulties, you're stressed, it affects your health, and you're really not living because in the back of your mind, you're thinking about my finances and what can I do to improve my finances. Well, I'm glad you're asked because you can reach out to Bonafide or B5 Reaffirm and she can provide all the information, and then the two of us together can talk to you about life and how you can develop that spending plan and how you can take a look at the money that you currently have and make better decisions regarding that money.
Absolutely. Tonia said it perfectly. It's all about leadership, right? That's why the L is about leadership. It is leadership of your life. I have another program that I do under Bonafide that I do with young people, and it's called CEO Me. And it's really about the whole concept of being a CEO of a corporation. What is that definition? What are some of the characteristics? What is the day in the life of a CEO of a corporation? And once I get the young people to define that, then I say, that is you in your own life, right? So CEOs make difficult decisions. Everyone doesn't always agree with the decisions that the CEO makes, but the CEO is going to evaluate all the risks, right? They're going to do due diligence, and then they're going to make that tough call, right? And they already know that they have to live with the consequences of that choice. That's why they're going to do that due diligence and ask fact-finding questions and all of those things. Thus is true when you are CEO Me. I am the CEO of my life, meaning we have to take leadership of our life and make those tough calls. And the first call is things aren't working out, right? Where I am right now is not where I want to be. So I want to make different choices, but I don't know how. So as Tonia said, you need Mo help with making those decisions. So that's McCoy and Oldham. So you can reach us at PamalaMcCoy.com. And of course the Pamela is different. Pamala, no E, McCoy.com. And we can get you on that path of life. And it is leadership. That is the key word, leadership. We're not here to tell you what to do. We're here to give you these life-changing, these life-altering tools that you need to become a better version of yourself. And as I say to all of my clients, right, before you call, before you go to the website and reach out, you have to already have a made-up mind that you're ready, willing, and able to put in the work, because success only comes before work in the dictionary. You got to roll up the sleeves. You're going to make some different choices, right? We can come up with a plan, and it's going to be a good plan because while we have a background and we know what we're doing, but the plan is only going to work if you put in the work. So I say, what's the outcome going to be? An action plan. That's 2 words, right? And what are Tonia and I? We are the plan. And what is the client? You're the action. And so if you don't apply the action to our plan, then our plan is just simply words on a piece of paper, right? So we need you to be ready. We need you to be ready.
Pamela, that is awesome. I couldn't have said it any better. All of the things that you guys have offered our audience today, these are really tools that will help anybody anybody to grow and become a better self, a better version of themselves, if you will. So, ladies, before we get out of here, is there just one other thing that you would like for our audience to know? Or, well, let me take that back here. We're coming up on the end of the show. So, again, I want to thank you. I want to thank you guys for taking the time out of your busy schedules to join with us today, because you have been awesome. I mean, this information has just been so powerful for us. And so, again, thank you for watching Leadership Table Talk. This is Dr. Mary Gillam, and I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye for today. And again, thank you, ladies. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.